Welcome to our immersive journey into the hidden mysteries of the Clone Wars. If you enjoy these deep explorations of Star Wars lore, crafted to help you drift into peaceful sleep, please remember to like and subscribe for more galactic journeys. In the farthest reaches of the Outer Rim, where even the light of the Republic's justice barely reaches, there exists a truth so carefully guarded that not even the Jedi Council knows its full extent. The galaxy believes they understand the Clone Wars, a conflict engineered by Count Dooku, a separatist movement threatening the Republic, an army of clones created just when they were needed most. But in the shadows between stars, a deeper game unfolds. On the rain-soaked platforms of Camino, a Kaminoan scientist works alone in the dead of night. Her slender fingers move across a console, revealing schematics of something embedded within the minds of every clone trooper, something that was never included in the reports to the Jedi. The inhibitor chips were never designed to control aggression. She whispers to her secret transmitter. They contain commands, protocols, contingencies that would turn the Republic's greatest defenders into its executioners. Her transmission cuts short as a shadow falls across her laboratory door. 3 days later, a Republic intelligence officer receives a partial transmission. The image is fractured, incomplete, but what remains is enough to chill the blood of even the most seasoned operative. What you are about to discover was meant to remain buried, a conspiracy spanning decades. A plan set in motion long before the first shot of the Clone Wars was ever fired. In war, the greatest secrets lie not with the enemy but within our own ranks. And some secrets are worth dying to protect. The year is 20 BBY, the third year of the Clone Wars. The galaxy bleeds from 1,000 wounds as Republic and Separatist forces clash across countless worlds. While massive battles dominate the HoloNet broadcasts, the true course of the war is often determined in shadows through intelligence, counterintelligence, and the careful uncovering of secrets. You serve as a Republic Strategic Intelligence Officer, operating under the direct authority of the Republic Security Bureau with special clearance from the Jedi Council. Your mission parameters typically extend beyond the knowledge of standard military command, investigating anomalies that others might dismiss as coincidence or battlefield chaos. Your background includes specialized training in counterintelligence operations and xenolinguistics, allowing you to detect patterns where others see only noise. Your command center sits aboard the Vigilance, a modified consular-class cruiser stripped of its diplomatic markings and refitted for covert operations. The ship's exterior maintains the weathered appearance of a civilian transport, while its interior houses some of the most advanced analytical equipment in the Republic. The main operations room surrounds you with holographic displays, each tracking different aspects of the war effort, surveillance reports, and patterns of activity that may reveal separatist movements. The gentle hum of the ship's engines provides a constant background to your work, a reminder of the thin barrier between yourself and the vacuum of space. The air carries the subtle scent of ozone from the electronics and the faint aroma of cafe perpetually brewing in the small galley adjacent to the main room. The lighting remains dim to better view the holographic projections, casting blue shadows across the metallic surfaces. Sir, the full analysis of the Kaminoan transmission has completed, says Commander CT 3181, known to his brothers as Cypher. Cypher is unlike most clone troopers you've encountered. As an advanced recon commando specializing in cryptography and intelligence, he carries himself with quiet intensity. A jagged scar runs from his right temple down to his jaw, the result of an information extraction operation gone wrong on Cato Nemoidia. His armor bears no personalized markings besides a small binary code sequence etched onto his right shoulder pauldron, its meaning known only to him. Where most clones find identity in colorful armor designs, Cypher finds his in the patterns of information he deciphers. The transmission was deliberately fragmented, Cypher continues, his voice carrying the same accent as his millions of brothers, yet somehow more precisely measured. Someone wanted pieces missing if it was intercepted. But what remains is disturbing enough. The data patterns suggest the transmission originated from Kamino's restricted research sector, an area even senior clone commanders lack clearance to access. From the doorway leading to the ship's small meditation chamber, a softer voice interrupts. Disturbing is an inadequate description of what we've found. Master Cora Veran steps into the command center, her traditional Jedi robes replaced by more practical field attire. A Miriel-Lan woman in her early 40s, her olive skin bears the geometric facial tattoos of her people, marking significant achievements in her life. As a Jedi shadow, she operates largely independent from the typical Jedi command structure, investigating threats to the Order that often remain hidden even from the Council. Her lightsaber hilt, visible at her belt, features ancient Miriel-Lan engravings, connecting her to traditions predating the Republic itself. The Force feels clouded around this transmission, she says, her fingers gently brushing against the hilt of her lightsaber. An unconscious gesture you've noticed when she's troubled, as if someone has taken great care to conceal their actions, even from Force perception. I've experienced similar sensations only when investigating Sith artifacts or locations strong with the dark side. The final member of your core team enters silently, the soft mechanical whir of joints being the only announcement of his presence. To 7K is a captured Separatist tactical droid, his original burgundy plating now repainted in muted grays. After capture during a raid on a Separatist intelligence outpost, Republic technicians discovered his loyalty programming had been corrupted, making him susceptible to reprogramming. While never fully trusted, his analytical capabilities provide insights into Separatist methodology that have proven invaluable. Statistical analysis suggests a 97.8% probability that this transmission originated from a senior Kaminoan genetic engineer. The droid states, his synthesized voice devoid of emotional inflection. The reference to inhibitor chips correlates with restricted files in my databanks regarding Republic clone production. Count Dooku maintains specific interest in these files, though I lack clearance to know their complete contents. The holotable between you flickers to life, displaying the fragmented image from the transmission. The Kaminoan scientist appears frightened, her typically serene demeanor replaced by urgency. The hologram stutters and skips, words lost to interference or deliberate jamming. The lab behind her contains equipment you don't recognize, more advanced than standard Kaminoan cloning technology. The inhibitor chips were never designed to control aggression, the Kaminoan says in the recording, her long neck tense with fear. They contain commands, protocols, contingencies that would turn the Republic's greatest defenders into its. The transmission cuts out, resuming several seconds later. Protocol 16 is merely the beginning. Order 60. The image dissolves into static, then briefly resolves to show a partial schematic of what appears to be neural implant technology before cutting out completely. What's Order 60, you ask, looking toward Cypher. The ARC trooper shakes his head. Unknown, sir. Standard Republic contingency orders only go up to Order 5 in most trooper briefings. Some specialized units might have additional protocols, but nothing numbered that high. He hesitates, then adds, though lately some of the brothers have reported unusual medical examinations, routine, they were told, but increased in frequency over the last 6 standard months. Master Viran moves closer to the hologram, studying the frozen image of the Kaminoan. The Jedi were told the chips were installed as aggression inhibitors to prevent the clone template's more violent tendencies from manifesting in the army. If they serve another purpose, she closes her eyes briefly, centering herself. The darkness I sense grows stronger. Whatever these chips truly do, they were not designed with the well-being of the Republic in mind. The implications are most concerning. T7K interjects. A backdoor control mechanism in Republic forces would represent a significant strategic vulnerability. If exploited, it would reduce combat effectiveness by an estimated 78.3% at minimum. You notice Cypher's hand move unconsciously to the side of his head, touching just above his right temple, before he catches himself and returns to parade rest. The gesture doesn't escape Master Varan's notice either, her eyes narrowing slightly. The ship's comm system chimes softly, drawing your attention to an incoming transmission. The holographic form of Admiral Yularen materializes above the communications terminal, his features set in their characteristic stern expression. "Intelligence officer." Yularen addresses you formally, suggesting the channel, while secure, might not be completely private. "The Jedi Council has requested your immediate presence on Coruscant regarding the matter we discussed previously. Transport has been arranged. Master Yoda specifically requested your team's presence. Exercise extreme caution in your investigation. Recent events suggest our communications may be compromised at the highest levels." The transmission ends as abruptly as it began, leaving questions hanging in the recycled air of your command center. "Master Yoda himself," Cypher remarks, his disciplined demeanor showing a rare crack of surprise. "This must connect to something bigger than we initially thought. The last time a special intelligence unit was summoned directly to the temple was when the assassination attempt on Chancellor Palpatine was uncovered." Master Varan's expression grows distant, her connection to the Force allowing her to sense something beyond the immediate situation. There is more happening here than a single security breach or isolated incident. The Force feels disturbed, as if we stand at the edge of uncovering something that has been hidden for a very long time. The clouding of the Force that many Jedi have sensed since the war began may be connected to this mystery. The tactical droid calculates silently before speaking. Recent Separatist communication intercepts have shown a 12% increase in encrypted transmissions between Count Dooku and unknown recipients. Security protocols for these transmissions exceed standard Separatist parameters. Additionally, these transmissions correlate temporally with 7 unexplained Separatist ship disappearances in the Outer Rim. You activate the ship's navigation system, plotting the course to Coruscant while considering the scattered pieces of intelligence before you. A frightened Kaminoan scientist speaking of hidden protocols in clone troopers' minds. Increased secretive communications from the highest levels of Separatist command. The personal interest of Master Yoda himself. Cypher moves to a nearby console, inputting security codes to access classified Republic channels. "Sir, I found something else. 3 Jedi have gone missing in the past month while investigating clone trooper behavior anomalies. These reports were classified and restricted from regular Jedi access." Master Varan's expression hardens. The Council wasn't informed of any Jedi disappearances related to clone investigations. Someone is deliberately keeping information from both military command and the Jedi Order. As your ship changes course for Coruscant, you gaze out at the streaking stars of hyperspace, each one a distant sun illuminating worlds caught in the conflict that engulfs the galaxy. But behind the visible war, fought with blasters and battle droids, you sense another conflict unfolding, one of secrets and shadows. The vigilance accelerates toward the heart of the Republic, your mind racing with possibilities, none of them reassuring. Whatever conspiracy you've begun to uncover extends far beyond a single transmission or security breach. It touches the very foundation of the Republic's defense, the clone army itself, and perhaps even the Jedi Order's ability to perceive the truth through the Force. The journey to uncover the hidden truths of the Clone Wars has begun, and you already suspect the cost of discovery may be higher than anyone is prepared to pay. The journey to Coruscant takes 18 standard hours, each passing minute increasing the tension aboard the Vigilance. You spend the time reviewing all available data on Kaminoan cloning procedures, focusing specifically on neural development and the official documentation regarding inhibitor chips. The information is surprisingly sparse, with references to classified addendums you lack the clearance to access. As the ship begins its final approach to Coruscant, the planet's cityscape sprawls beneath you, an endless metropolis glittering in the morning light. Speeders flow through designated traffic lanes like luminous blood cells through the veins of some vast organism. From orbit, there is no sign of the war that consumes the galaxy, only the appearance of order and civilization. The Vigilance receives clearance to land at a private docking bay adjacent to the Jedi Temple rather than the main military spaceport. This unusual arrangement further confirms the sensitive nature of your mission. Interesting, T7K observes as he monitors the landing protocols. This docking bay does not appear in standard Republic records. Its existence suggests regular covert operations conducted without standard military oversight. Master Varan nods. The Jedi have maintained independent intelligence operations since the formation of the Republic. Not all threats can be addressed through conventional military channels. Once landed, you're greeted not by temple guards or clone security, but by a diminutive green figure leaning on a gnarled walking stick. Master Yoda himself has come to meet your ship, his presence both an honor and a concerning indication of the gravity of the situation. Expected you, I have. Master Yoda says as you descend the boarding ramp. Much to discuss we have, but not here. Too many ears, even in the temple walls. You notice Cypher stiffens slightly at these words, his training struggling against the implication that the Jedi Temple itself might not be secure. Master Yoda leads your team not into the temple proper, but through a series of ancient passages beneath the structure. The air grows cool and damp as you descend, the modern technology of the temple giving way to stone passages carved millennia ago. These chambers from the early days of the Jedi Order they are, Yoda explains, his clawed hand gesturing to the walls around you. Before the temple was built, shielded from technological surveillance they remain, from force perception as well, thanks to the natural minerals in the stone. The path finally opens into a circular chamber, illuminated by soft blue light emanating from crystalline formations in the walls. At the center stands a simple stone table surrounded by seats carved from the same material. Master Yoda, you begin. The transmission we intercepted suggests there may be control mechanisms embedded within the clone troopers, beyond what the Republic or the Jedi Council has been informed of. The ancient Jedi Master's ears droop slightly. Suspected this. Some of us have. But proof we lacked until now. He activates a small holographic projector, displaying an image of a neural implant. The inhibitor chip, this is, told we were necessary for clone stability. It was, but investigated further. I have more complex than reported. The technology is ancient, it appears, yet in modern form. Master Varan leans forward. Ancient. You mean it's based on technology predating the Republic? Familiar it seemed when first I saw the designs. In Jedi archives, references exist to similar devices. From the time of the old Sith Empire they date. Mind control devices they were, used on prisoners and slaves. The implications land heavily. Cypher unconsciously touches his temple again, his composure cracking slightly. Are you saying we all have Sith technology in our heads, General? Yoda's gaze turns sympathetic. No, with certainty, we do not, but investigate we must. 3 Jedi, missing they are, after questions about clone behavior they asked. We found records of those disappearances, you confirm. Why wasn't the full council informed? Compartmentalized information has become, Yoda responds, his ancient eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and concern. Even among the council divisions there are. Trust, in short supply, it is. T7K speaks up, his mechanical voice echoing slightly in the stone chamber. My databanks contain partial references to separatist interest in clone neural function. Count Dooku maintained specific research initiatives regarding clone cognitive manipulation. However, this data suggests separatist observation rather than implementation. Observers rather than architects. The separatists may be. Yoda agrees. Deeper the mystery goes. To Kamino you must journey, but officially sent you cannot be. Outside regular channels, this investigation must proceed. You consider the implications. You're asking us to conduct an unsanctioned operation, potentially against both Republic military protocol and Kaminoan sovereignty. Correct. This is risk great, but greater risk in ignorance lies. If control mechanisms exist, the entire Republic at risk may be. Master Varan speaks carefully. Master Yoda, are you suggesting that someone could potentially take control of the entire clone army? That would mean the end of the Republic. It could be. Yoda finishes gravely, and the Jedi Order as well. The ancient Jedi Master reaches into his robes and removes a small data crystal, placing it on the stone table. Access codes. These are to restricted Kaminoan facilities. They will grant entry from an old friend. They came. One who shares our concerns. Careful, you must be. Unknown it is how far this conspiracy reaches or who may be involved. You take the crystal, feeling the weight of responsibility it represents. We'll need a cover story for traveling to Kamino. The facility monitors all incoming ships. Arranged that has been inspection of new clone batches. Your official purpose will be questions though. Ask carefully, uncertain whom to trust. We are. As the meeting concludes, Master Yoda takes you aside while the others prepare to depart. Sense something, do you, in your clone commander? You consider Cypher's behavior, the unconscious touches to his temple, the slight tension when certain topics arise. He seems concerned about the implications, but loyal. Do you sense something specific? Yoda closes his eyes briefly, clouded. Everything has become, even the Force, difficult to see through clearly. But caution I advise. If activated, these chips can be no warning we might have. Before departing the underground chamber, you make a detour to the Jedi archives with Master Varan, using Yoda's security clearance to access records normally restricted even to most Jedi. The records on clone development are surprisingly limited, but you find reference to a Jedi Master who had expressed concerns about the clone army's origins years before the war began. Master Sifo Dyas. Master Varan reads. The official record states he commissioned the clone army after foreseeing a great conflict, but died before informing the council. Convenient, you observe. And these records show Count Dooku left the Jedi Order immediately after Sifo Dyas' death. The timing suggests Dooku may have known something about the clone army's creation. Master Varan accesses another file. Here's something else. Before his disappearance, Master Sifo Dyas accessed ancient records about Sith mind control techniques. He left notes questioning similarities to proposed clone neural conditioning. You download what information you can, though many files show signs of having been altered or partially deleted. As you prepare to leave, Master Varan pauses by a bust of Count Dooku, displayed among other lost 20 Jedi who left the Order. I met him once, before he left, she says quietly. He spoke of corruption in the Republic, of the Jedi becoming blind to growing darkness. I dismissed it as the disillusionment of an aging master. Now I wonder if he knew something we didn't, or if he's part of what we're uncovering. Back aboard the Vigilance, you brief your team on the new mission parameters. Cypher studies the navigational charts to Kamino, plotting the most discreet approach through hyperspace lanes that avoid major Republic checkpoints. Sir, he says finally, his voice carefully controlled, if these chips can potentially control clone troopers against their will, what does that mean for me? The question hangs in the air, its implications extending to the millions of clone troopers fighting across the galaxy, each potentially carrying hidden programming in their minds. First, we confirm the truth. You answer, then we determine how to protect you and your brothers. As the Vigilance breaks orbit and prepares for the jump to hyperspace, you find yourself looking at each member of your team with new considerations. The Jedi, whose order commissioned an army without asking enough questions, the clone potentially carrying Sith control technology in his mind. The reprogrammed separatist droid, whose loyalty depends on altered code. And yourself, a Republic intelligence officer now operating outside official channels, pursuing a conspiracy that may reach the highest levels of the government you've sworn to protect. The journey to uncover the truth about the clone army and the hidden purpose of the Clone Wars has truly begun. But you already sense that what you discover may forever change how you view the conflict engulfing the galaxy and perhaps the Republic itself. The Vigilance emerges from hyperspace in the Camino system, the stormy water world appearing as a blue sphere veiled in perpetual cloud cover. Rain lashes against the viewport as you begin your descent through the turbulent atmosphere, the ship's hull vibrating under the strain of high winds. Below, the vast Camino and cloning facilities rise from the endless ocean on massive stilts, their curved white structures somehow both elegant and clinical against the dark churning waters. Transmitting clearance codes now. Cipher reports, his fingers moving efficiently across the communications console. Cover identity protocols active. As far as the facility is concerned, we're conducting a routine quality inspection on batch CT 7567 through 8822. Incoming transmission from Tipoca City Control, Tita 7 Co. announces. The holographic image of a Kaminoan administrator materializes, her long neck gracefully poised as she regards your team with large, unblinking eyes. Republic inspection, vessel vigilance. Your arrival is unexpected, she states, her tone mild, yet somehow disapproving. Prime Minister Lama Su was not informed of additional inspections this cycle. Master Varan steps forward smoothly. The Council has authorized supplementary evaluations following anomalous performance reports from the Ryloth campaign. Chancellor Palpatine himself has expressed interest in the results. The invocation of both the Jedi Council and the Chancellor produces the desired effect. The Kaminoan inclines her head slightly. Of course, landing platform Delta 7 has been cleared for your arrival. An escort will meet you there. As the transmission ends, you notice Cypher's expression has tightened. The Ryloth campaign, he says quietly. There were rumors among the 327th Star Corps. A squad suddenly turned on their Jedi general during a firefight, officially recorded as battle stress and enemy fire causing confusion. You suspect otherwise, you ask? I knew those men, veterans, all of them. Not the type to mistake their general for the enemy, even under heavy fire. The Vigilance touches down on the rain-slicked landing platform, where two Kaminoan technicians wait beneath the shelter of an overhang. Their identical postures and impassive expressions give nothing away as your team disembarks. Welcome to Kamino, the taller of the two greets you. I am Kosai, Chief Scientist of the Clone Development Program. This is my assistant, Tala Wee. We will escort you to the inspection areas. Kosai, the name triggers recognition. According to your intelligence briefing, she oversees the most classified aspects of clone neural development, including the inhibitor chip program. Her presence, rather than a lower-ranked administrator, suggests your arrival has triggered higher-level attention. We appreciate your accommodation of our unscheduled inspection, you reply, matching her formal tone. We'll require access to both the active development facilities and the medical records database. Of course, Kasai responds, though a flicker of hesitation crosses her features. However, certain developmental research remains proprietary under our contract with the Republic. I trust your inspection will respect these boundaries. Master Varan speaks, her voice carrying subtle force influence. We'll need to see everything related to neural development and behavioral conditioning, particularly the inhibitor chip implementation. Kosai's large eyes blink once, the only indication of surprise. The inhibitor chip program falls under classified protocols. Your clearance would need to be verified by Prime Minister Lama Su. Our clearance comes directly from the Jedi Council, Master Varan continues, her tone leaving no room for argument. Perhaps you'd prefer we discuss the matter with him directly, along with certain transmission irregularities we've detected from your research division. The implied threat achieves its purpose. Kosai inclines her head in acquiescence. Very well. Please follow me to the Central Medical Facility. Tala, we will arrange terminal access to the relevant databases. As you walk through the pristine white corridors of Tipoca City, you pass groups of clone cadets in training. Young faces, identical in feature yet each showing subtle differences in expression and bearing. Future soldiers being prepared for a war that began suspiciously close to their creation. The medical facility occupies an entire section of the complex, its multiple levels housing everything from basic treatment rooms to advanced research laboratories. Kosai leads you to a secure level requiring multiple clearance scans before the doors hiss open. Our Neural Development Division, she explains, gesturing to a laboratory where several Kaminoan scientists work at various stations. Through transparent walls, you observe clone subjects undergoing what appear to be cognitive tests, electrodes attached to their shaved heads. Here we monitor and refine the cognitive architecture of each generation of clones, ensuring peak performance under combat conditions. And the inhibitor chips, you prompt. Where are they manufactured and implemented? Kosai's posture stiffens imperceptibly. That program is housed in a separate facility. Tala, we will provide you with the basic documentation while I secure authorization for physical access. As Kosai departs, Talawi guides you to a private research terminal. You may access general neural development records here, she explains, her voice softer than Kosai's. I must attend to other duties but will return shortly to escort you to the main database. Once alone, your team moves quickly. Cypher immediately bypasses the terminal security restrictions using the access codes provided by Master Yoda, while T7K monitors the corridor outside for approaching personnel. Standard access granted, Cypher reports, but the inhibitor chip files are protected behind additional security layers, attempting to bypass now. Master Viran places a hand on his shoulder. Wait, something feels wrong. The tension in both Kaminoans was pronounced when we mentioned the chips. They're concerned about something beyond simple security protocols. You consider the situation. Agreed. We need to be more subtle. Let's access the general medical records first. Look for patterns or anomalies that might connect to the chips without triggering security alerts. For the next hour, you methodically examine clone medical data, focusing on neurological examinations and behavioral assessments. Patterns begin to emerge. Sir, look at this, Cypher says, highlighting a section of data. Neurological screening protocols were modified 3 years ago, just before the war began. New baseline parameters were established that allowed for minor anomalies in the prefrontal cortex area. Cross-reference with trooper performance evaluations, you instruct. T7K processes the data rapidly. Analysis complete. Clone units exhibiting the neurological anomaly show a 5% increase in compliance with command structures and a 7% decrease in creative problem-solving during standard simulations. They're making them more obedient, Master Varan observes, and less likely to question orders. There's more, Cypher continues. Scheduled medical examinations for field-deployed units have increased in frequency. Protocol lists them as routine immunization and conditioning maintenance, but the procedures focus exclusively on neural function. You pull up the schedule for these examinations. The frequency spiked after the Battle of Geonosis, and again following several incidents where clones disobeyed controversial orders. Master Varan's expression darkens. They're refining whatever control they've implemented, adapting it based on field performance. The terminal suddenly displays a security alert, then returns to the standard access screen. "We've been locked out," Cypher reports, fingers moving rapidly across the interface. Remote override from another terminal. "Someone knows what we're looking for," you conclude, just as the door slides open to reveal Tala Wee. Chief Scientist Ko Sai requests your presence in Laboratory 7, she announces, her tone revealing nothing. She has arranged the access you requested. You exchange glances with your team, silently communicating caution as you follow the Kaminoan through a maze of corridors to a more isolated section of the facility. Laboratory 7's entrance requires additional biometric scans before admitting your group into a smaller, more secure research space. Inside, Ko Sai stands beside a holographic projection of what appears to be a neural implant schematic. The device is small, no larger than a grain of rice, but its internal structure reveals sophisticated technology. The inhibitor chip, Ko Sai states without preamble, designed to suppress aggressive tendencies inherited from the genetic template, Django Fett. Its implementation was a specific requirement of Master Sifo Dyas when he commissioned the army. You study the schematic carefully. This design seems more complex than would be needed for simple aggression suppression. Ko Sai's expression remains impassive. The neural architecture of conscious beings is complex. Simple solutions would be inadequate. Master Varan steps closer to the projection. When are these implanted? During early embryonic development, the neural tissue grows around the chip, integrating it fully into the brain's structure. Removal is impossible without causing significant cognitive damage. You notice Cypher's hand tighten into a fist at his side. Master Varan senses his discomfort and subtly shifts the conversation. "We received reports of chip malfunctions in some units. Has your research division documented such cases?" A flicker of something crosses Kaisi's features: concern, fear. There have been isolated incidents of chip rejection. Such units are immediately removed from active service for study. "And where are these studies conducted?" you press. "In a specialized containment facility. Security protocols prevent me from discussing its location." Ko Sai gestures to another display. "However, I can show you the standard neural mapping of properly functioning chips." The new hologram displays a clone's brain scan, with the chip highlighted in the prefrontal cortex region. Small tendrils extend from the device into surrounding tissue, far more extensive integration than would be necessary for a simple aggression inhibitor. These connections, you observe, they extend to motor control and memory centers as well. Aggression impulses originate throughout the brain, Ko Sai explains smoothly. Comprehensive integration is necessary for effective function. T7K speaks for the first time since entering the laboratory. This design bears striking similarities to neural compliance technology documented in separatist research archives. The integration pattern is 93% consistent with mind-influence circuits developed by techno-union scientists before the war began. Ko Sai's composure slips momentarily. "Your droid appears to be malfunctioning. Perhaps it should remain with your vessel during the remainder of your inspection." Before you can respond, a young Kaminoan assistant enters the laboratory and whispers something to Ko Sai. Her eyes widen slightly before she regains her professional demeanor. "I must attend to an urgent matter," she announces. "Taylor, we will continue your tour of the standard facilities. Unfortunately, our time for discussing classified projects has concluded. Prime Minister Lama Su sends his regrets that he cannot meet with you personally during this visit." As Ko Sai quickly exits the laboratory, Master Varan catches your eye. "She's afraid," she whispers. "Something has happened that she didn't anticipate." You nod in agreement. We need to find out what triggered that reaction, and we need to see what's in the containment facility she mentioned. Your initial discoveries have confirmed your worst suspicions. The inhibitor chips are far more than aggression suppressors, and the Kaminoans know it. But who really designed them, and what is their true purpose? The answers you suspect lie in the mysterious containment facility where the malfunctioning clones are kept. The mystery deepens, and with it, the sense that you've only glimpsed the surface of a conspiracy that could threaten the very foundation of the Republic. Talawi escorts your team through the standard clone training facilities, maintaining a polite but distant demeanor that betrays nothing of Kosai's earlier discomfort. You observe young clones at various stages of development, from children learning basic skills to teenagers engaged in combat simulations. Their identical faces and synchronized movements create an unsettling spectacle, thousands of lives created for a single purpose. The current production rate is 500,000 units per cycle, Talawi explains, as you observe a vast chamber where thousands of clone embryos develop in artificial wombs. With accelerated growth protocols, they reach combat readiness in 10 standard years rather than the 20 required for natural human development. Cypher remains notably silent during this portion of the tour, his helmet concealing whatever emotions might cross his face at seeing the clinical production of his brothers. Master Varan stays close to him, her presence offering subtle support through the Force. What percentage of clones reject the inhibitor chips? You ask casually, observing Talawi for any reaction. Rejection is extremely rare, she responds smoothly. Less than 0.01% of units show adverse reactions to the neural modifications. But it does happen. You press. What becomes of those clones? A slight hesitation. They are removed from the general population for specialized treatment. Most can be reconditioned successfully, and those who cannot. Talawi's large eyes blink once. They are decommissioned. Defective units cannot be deployed to combat zones. The clinical terminology makes Cypher stiffen beside you. You change tactics. We'd like to see the medical records for the 327th Star Corps, specifically the squad involved in the Ryloth incident. Those records have been transferred to Republic Military Intelligence. Talawi responds. They are no longer in our database. A convenient explanation, but one that heightens your suspicions. As the tour continues, Teda 7K subtly scans and records the facility layout, mapping potential routes to restricted areas. When you return to the medical section, Master Varan creates a diversion, claiming to sense a disturbance through the Force that requires her immediate meditation. Talawi, unable to refuse a Jedi's request, reluctantly provides her with a private chamber while continuing the tour with the rest of your team. Through your secure comlink, Master Varan's voice comes through clearly once she's alone. I'm accessing the facility's central database through the terminal here. The meditation excuse has bought me perhaps 20 minutes before suspicion grows. Focus on locating the containment facility. You instruct quietly while maintaining conversation with Talawi, and any communications between Kamino and external parties regarding the chip program. The tour concludes at a clone barracks, where a unit preparing for deployment performs equipment checks with military precision. As Talawi explains final conditioning protocols, your comlink vibrates with an incoming secure message from Master Varan. We need to return to our ship to process the inspection data, you inform Talawi. Please convey our appreciation to Chief Scientist Kosai for her cooperation. Back aboard the Vigilance, Master Varan activates a holographic schematic of the Kaminoan facility, highlighting a section that doesn't appear on official maps. The containment facility is here, she explains, indicating a structure partially extending beneath the ocean's surface. It's isolated from the main complex and has its own independent power and security systems. I found authorization logs showing Kosai visits daily, along with a small team of specialists. What about external communications, you ask? That's where it gets interesting. I found encrypted transmissions between Kozai and an unknown recipient on Coruscant. The communications are routed through multiple proxy servers to conceal the final destination, but they spike in frequency after any reported chip malfunction incidents. Cypher studies the containment facility layout. Security looks extensive. Traditional infiltration would be difficult without raising alarms. Perhaps we don't need to infiltrate physically, you suggest. T7K, can you access their systems remotely from here? The tactical droid's photoreceptors flicker as he processes the request. Negative. The containment facility operates on a closed network isolated from the main systems. Physical access to a terminal within the facility would be required. Master Varan considers the problem. I may have found another option. The facility requisitions specialized equipment from the main medical center daily. The next delivery is scheduled in 3 hours, transported by maintenance droids. A plan quickly forms. Using T7K's appearance modification protocols, you disguise him as a Kaminoan maintenance droid. With the security codes Master Varan retrieved, he should be able to accompany the legitimate delivery into the containment facility and access their systems from within. While waiting for the appointed time, Cypher compiles the information you've gathered so far. Based on what we've seen, I believe the inhibitor chips serve as a control mechanism, he concludes, his voice tight with controlled anger. The integration with motor function centers suggests they can override a clone's voluntary muscle control. The Kaminoans are hiding something about their true purpose. But who controls them? You wonder aloud. The Kaminoans built them, but those transmissions to Coruscant suggest someone else is involved. Master Varan's expression is troubled. What if the Separatists have found a way to activate these chips remotely? It would explain the interest in clone neural function T7K mentioned in his databases. The theory makes a disturbing kind of sense. A backdoor into the Republic's army. Imagine if Dooku could trigger these chips during a critical battle, turning our forces against themselves or their Jedi generals. Cypher removes his helmet, revealing a face identical to millions of others across the galaxy, yet uniquely his own in expression and experience. The Ryloth incident, he says quietly. The clones who fired on their Jedi general. What if it wasn't confusion? What if their chips were activated as some kind of test? The implications are chilling. If the Separatists have planted control mechanisms in the Republic's clone army, the entire war effort could be compromised with a single command. 3 hours later, T7K returns from his infiltration mission, his disguise slightly damaged but his memory banks intact. The data he retrieved is comprehensive and disturbing. The containment facility houses 23 clone troopers exhibiting various levels of chip malfunction. He reports as he downloads the stolen files. Subjects demonstrate unpredictable behavior ranging from disobedience to complete catatonia. Medical logs indicate increased malfunction rates following exposure to certain electromagnetic frequencies. The holotable displays brain scans of affected clones, showing unusual activity patterns centered around the inhibitor chips. Some scans show degradation of the chips themselves, while others reveal inflammation in surrounding neural tissue. There's more, T7K continues. I accessed Kozai's personal research logs. She references contingency protocols embedded within the chip programming. These protocols remain dormant until activated by specific command sequences. The most prominent is designated Order 66, though its specific function is not detailed in the accessible files. Order 66, you repeat, remembering the fragmentary transmission that started your investigation. The Kaminoan scientist tried to warn about this specifically. Master Varan studies the medical data. These malfunctions appear most common in clones who've had extensive contact with Jedi. Their chips show degradation patterns consistent with exposure to Force sensitives. as if prolonged proximity to the Force weakens the control mechanism, you suggest. Cypher's expression hardens as the pieces seem to fit together. The Separatists plant control chips in the clones. The chips are designed to activate with specific orders, potentially turning the army against the Republic. But extended contact with Jedi and the Force disrupts the programming, causing malfunctions. It explains why the Kaminoans monitor clone units serving directly under Jedi more closely. Master Varan adds, they're watching for signs of chip degradation. You review the encrypted transmission logs T7K recovered, noting their timing coincides with reports from the front lines where clone units experienced unusual behavior. The pattern strengthens your theory of Separatist involvement. We need to take this evidence to Master Yoda immediately, you decide. If the Separatists can control our troops through these chips, the entire Republic is at risk. As the Vigilance prepares for departure, you feel a sense of grim satisfaction at having uncovered the conspiracy, mixed with deep concern about its implications. The Separatists have potentially compromised the Republic's entire defense force through these hidden control mechanisms. The war might be lost before it's truly fought. Yet something nags at the back of your mind, a sense that the explanation, while fitting the evidence, remains incomplete. Why would the Kaminoans, contracted by the Republic, implement Separatist technology? How did this sabotage remain undetected by Jedi and Republic intelligence? And why focus the control mechanism's effects particularly on interactions with Jedi? Despite these lingering questions, your immediate course is clear. Return to Coruscant with your evidence and warn the Republic about the threat hidden within its own army. The first phase of your investigation concludes with an alarming but seemingly coherent explanation. The inhibitor chips are Separatist control devices designed to undermine the Republic from within. It's a conclusion that makes strategic sense and explains the secrecy surrounding the program. But as your ship enters hyperspace, you can't shake the feeling that you've only uncovered part of a much larger and more disturbing truth. The journey back to Coruscant is interrupted by an urgent transmission from Master Yoda delivered via a secure quantum-encrypted channel that bypasses standard Republic communication networks. Return to Coruscant. You must not, the ancient Jedi Master warns, his holographic image flickering with interference. Compromised, your mission may be. Surveillance on Master Varan's quarters discovered has been. To these coordinates go instead. A string of navigation data accompanies the transmission. Master Yoda, we've discovered evidence suggesting Separatist control mechanisms in the clone chips, Master Varan responds. The Republic must be warned immediately. Complicated. The situation is more dangerous than first believed. Trust few. We can meet with you, I will, at the coordinates. The transmission ends abruptly, leaving your team in troubled silence. The coordinates lead to Utapau, a remote outer rim world known for its massive sinkholes and isolation from the main conflict zones of the war. Why would Master Yoda want us to avoid Coruscant, you wonder aloud? And who would place surveillance in the Jedi Temple itself? Someone who already suspects what we're investigating, Master Varan suggests. Someone with access to both the Temple and high-level Republic security. Cypher recalibrates the navigation system for the new destination. Either way, we're compromised. We should assume our original mission parameters are known to hostile entities. The journey to Utapau takes you through rarely used hyperspace lanes, adding time but reducing the chance of interception. Upon arrival, you discover the coordinates lead not to any of the planet's settled sinkholes, but to a small, unmarked asteroid in the system's outer belt. Docking with the asteroid reveals it houses a concealed facility, its entrance disguised as a natural formation. Inside, you find not Master Yoda, but another Jedi, one whose presence immediately puts Master Varan on alert. Master Quinlan Voss, she says. recognizing the Kifar Jedi, known for his undercover work and occasionally unorthodox methods. I wasn't expecting you. Master Yoda felt it prudent to limit his movements. Voss explains, leading your team deeper into the facility. Too many eyes on council members these days. I've been operating outside official channels for months now, tracking a conspiracy that I believe connects to your investigation. The asteroid base proves to be a fully equipped intelligence outpost with communication arrays, analysis stations, and living quarters sufficient for a small team. Displays monitor separatist movements across several sectors, while others track communications from within the Republic itself. Welcome to Shadow Base, Voss says with a grim smile. One of several black sites, established by a few concerned Jedi who've noticed the darkness growing within the Republic as well as outside it. You've been monitoring internal Republic communications, you ask, noting the evident security breach this represents. When necessary, Voss acknowledges without apology. What we've discovered justified the methods. Tell me what you found on Kamino. You share your findings about the inhibitor chips, the containment facility, and your theory about separatist control mechanisms. Voss listens intently, occasionally nodding, but offering no immediate reaction. When you finish, he activates a holographic display showing a complex network of connections between various entities throughout the galaxy. Your separatist theory makes sense with limited information, but it doesn't explain everything we've observed. Let me show you what we've been tracking. The display highlights several nodes, unusual financial transactions between banking clan members and entities on Kamino, dating back 10 years before the war began. Restricted communications between Chancellor Palpatine's office and Kamino and Prime Minister Lama Su, bypassing normal diplomatic channels. And most concerning, a pattern of disappearances or deaths among anyone who investigated the origins of the clone army too deeply. Including Master Sifo Dyas, Master Varan suggests. Exactly. Voss confirms. The official story never added up. Sifo Dyas supposedly commissioned the clone army after having force visions of the coming conflict, then conveniently died before informing the council. But our investigation suggests he discovered something about the army that got him killed. TIE 7K processes this new information against his databanks. This introduces a significant variable not accounted for in our initial analysis. If Republic officials were involved in chip implementation rather than separatist infiltration, the strategic implications change considerably. Quinlan Voss leads your team to another section of the base, where a secure vault door requires both force authentication and complex security codes to open. Inside is a small laboratory, and within it something that makes Cypher stop in his tracks. A clone trooper floats in a Bacta tank, monitoring equipment, tracking his vital signs. Unlike standard medical setups, this one focuses primarily on neural activity, with specialized scanners concentrated on a specific region of the brain. This is CT-7567, though his battalion calls him Rex, Voss explains. Captain serving under General Skywalker. During a mission on Ringo Veenda, he witnessed something disturbing. A fellow clone suddenly executed his Jedi general without provocation or warning, then had no memory of the event. Rex reported it through proper channels, but before an investigation could begin, both he and the affected trooper were scheduled for special medical evaluation on Kamino. You intercepted them, you conclude. We replaced Rex with another clone loyal to our cause, altered the records, and brought him here. We needed to understand what happened without Kaminoan interference. Master Varan approaches the tank, studying the suspended clone. Have you discovered anything? More than we wish to, Vex says grimly. We carefully extracted his chip for analysis. It contained embedded programming far beyond mere aggression control. Layered protocols designed to override free will when activated by specific command codes. He activates another display showing the chip's internal structure at microscopic levels. The technology is sophisticated but not separatist in design. Its architecture bears markers of ancient Sith mind-influenced techniques combined with modern Republic military encoding protocols. Republic military. You repeat, the implications sinking in. You're suggesting the Republic itself implemented these control measures. But why? These are their own troops. That's what we've been trying to determine. Voss replies. What would justify installing kill switches in your own army? Unless the army was never truly meant to serve the Republic as we understand it. Master Varan finishes quietly. Unless its final purpose is something else entirely. The theory seems outlandish yet disturbingly plausible given the evidence. If elements within the Republic government installed secret control mechanisms in the clone army, the conspiracy reaches further than anyone initially suspected. Quintalan Vos leads you to yet another section of the base, this one containing artifacts and data secured in specialized containment fields. We've been gathering evidence from multiple sources, trying to assemble the complete picture. This facility was originally established by Master Sifo Dyas himself, though few knew of its existence. After his death, a small circle of Jedi maintained it off the official records. Among the artifacts is a partial Sith holocron, its red crystalline structure damaged but still functional. This was recovered from a ship belonging to Master Sifo Dyas after his death. It contains fragmentary information about ancient Sith techniques for engineering large-scale conflict and manipulating populations through controlled crisis. The Clone Wars themselves might be part of someone's strategy, you realize, the scope of the potential conspiracy expanding dramatically before you. Consider the timing. Voss continues. An army appears precisely when needed, created years in advance by a Jedi who dies before explaining himself. The Separatist crisis escalates to full war at exactly the moment the clones reach deployment readiness. Chancellor Palpatine receives emergency powers that circumvent normal Republic checks and balances. The pieces begin to align in a new and disturbing pattern. Not Separatist sabotage of Republic forces, but a deeper conspiracy potentially involving both sides of the conflict. If the chips can be activated by specific commands, Cypher says, breaking his silence, what triggers them and what actions are they programmed to execute? Vez's expression darkens. That's where our investigation led to its most disturbing discovery. The clone who killed his general on Ringo Vinda was triggered by a phrase transmitted through a secure channel originating from Coruscant itself. When analyzed, the transmission bore encryption markers from the Chancellor's office. The implication hangs heavy in the air. Chancellor Palpatine, the leader of the Republic, potentially involved in a mechanism to control or terminate the clone army he commands. Before making accusations against the Chancellor, we need absolute proof, you caution. This evidence remains circumstantial. Agreed, Voss says, which is why we need to investigate the source of these control protocols directly. Not on Camino, which only implemented existing designs, but where they originated. And where is that? Master Varan asks. Mustafar, Voss answers, a volcanic world in the Outer Rim. Our intelligence suggests a facility there houses the original templates for the inhibitor chip design, along with the complete list of embedded protocols. As you discuss the mission to Mustafar, T7K interrupts with an urgent alert. Incoming transmission on emergency Jedi frequency. Origin, Jedi Temple, Coruscant. The holographic image of Jedi Master Shakti appears, her normally composed features marked with concern. This message goes to all Jedi operating in deep cover or special assignment. The Council has received disturbing reports regarding potential tampering with clone neural chips. Chancellor Palpatine has ordered all investigation into this matter be conducted exclusively by his newly formed Special Committee for Military Integrity. All Jedi are instructed to cease any independent inquiry and report to Coruscant immediately. The message continues, but its subtext is clear. The Chancellor is moving to contain the investigation, bringing it under his direct control. This confirms our suspicions. Voss says after the transmission ends, someone wants this information controlled. We must move quickly before all evidence is secured or destroyed. As preparations for the Mustafar mission begin, you find a moment alone with Cypher. The clone commander stands before a viewport, gazing at the stars with uncharacteristic stillness. How are you processing all this, you ask? Trying to reconcile being both a soldier and a potential weapon aimed at my own allies, he responds quietly. If what we suspect is true, my brothers and I were created not just to fight for the Republic, but to eventually turn against it, or parts of it at least. We don't know the full truth yet, you remind him. No, but we know enough. These chips can override our will, turn us into organic droids following programming against our conscious choice. He turns to face you, his expression resolute despite the existential horror of his situation. Whatever we find on Mustafar, I need to know there's a way to protect my brothers from being used like this. The conversation is interrupted as Master Varan joins you, her expression troubled. Voss has received intelligence that a separatist fleet was recently dispatched to Mustafar under Count Dooku's direct command. Whatever's hidden there, we're not the only ones seeking it. As the Vigilance prepares for departure to Mustafar, you contemplate how dramatically your understanding of the situation has evolved. What began as an investigation into possible separatist sabotage has revealed layers of conspiracy potentially involving the highest levels of the Republic government, ancient Sith influences, and a war that may serve purposes beyond the obvious conflict. The pattern emerging suggests the Clone Wars themselves might be an elaborate deception, with both Republic and Separatist forces unwitting pieces in a game whose true objectives remain hidden. And at the center of it all, the clone army, millions of men created with hidden programming that can override their will at a crucial moment. What awaits on Mustafar may provide answers, but you suspect those answers will only lead to even deeper and more disturbing questions about the true nature of the conflict engulfing the galaxy. The journey to Mustafar takes you through treacherous regions of space where Republic patrols are scarce and Separatist activity has increased in recent months. To avoid detection, Master Voss provides specialized stealth modifications for the Vigilance, experimental technology developed by the secretive Jedi Shadow Network. The volcanic atmosphere of Mustafar provides natural interference that helps mask ship signatures, Voss explains, as your vessel approaches the fiery world. Still, we'll need to approach from the night side and maintain minimal power outputs. Through the viewport, Mustafar appears as a hellscape of molten rivers and ash-darkened skies. Periodic eruptions send plumes of lava hundreds of meters into the air, while toxic gases create swirling patterns in the atmosphere. It's a world hostile to most forms of life, making it an ideal location for those wishing to keep their activities hidden. Separatist presence detected, T-7K announces, monitoring long-range scanners. One Providence-class dreadnought in high orbit, along with support vessels. Ground installations show significant energy signatures consistent with a major facility. Can we avoid their detection grid, you ask? Affirmative. Approach vector calculated using surface terrain for concealment. Probability of detection, 17%. Master Varan studies the holographic map of the surface installations. The primary facility is built into the side of a dormant volcano, partially subterranean. Security appears extensive. It's not just a separatist base, Voss adds. This facility predates the war. Intelligence suggests it was established secretly over a decade ago, with resources drawn from multiple sources, including Trade Federation accounts later linked to separatist funding. Why would the separatists build a secret base before the movement even formally existed, you wonder? Exactly the question that led us here, Voss responds. The Vigilance makes its approach, skimming just above the turbulent surface of Mustafar, using lava flows and mountainous terrain for cover. You set down in a narrow canyon several kilometers from the facility, the ship's hull creaking as it adjusts to the planet's extreme temperature variations. Your team prepares for surface deployment with specialized environmental gear designed to withstand Mustafar's harsh conditions. The atmosphere is technically breathable but filled with toxic particulates that necessitate filtration masks. Heat-resistant armor and cooling systems complete the protective ensemble. Our intelligence suggests the facility contains 3 primary sections. Voss briefs you as final preparations are made. Research laboratories, data archives, and what appears to be some form of temple or ceremonial space. The latter shows energy signatures consistent with ancient Sith artifacts. Sith artifacts? Master Varan questions sharply. You didn't mention this before. Because I couldn't confirm it until now, Voss answers. Recent scans detected energy patterns matching those recorded at confirmed Sith temple sites. Whatever this facility houses, it combines modern technology with ancient dark side knowledge. The implications are disturbing. Connection to the Sith would elevate this conspiracy from political manipulation to something far more sinister. Your infiltration plan leverages T7K's ability to interface with separatist security systems, potentially providing access without triggering alarms. Master Voss will lead the team through maintenance tunnels identified in architectural scans, while Master Varan uses her force abilities to sense for living presences that might detect your intrusion. As you traverse the volcanic landscape, the ground occasionally trembles with seismic activity. Rivers of molten rock flow on either side of your path, casting an eerie orange glow that illuminates the perpetual ashen twilight of Mustafar's atmosphere. In the distance, the facility rises from the blackened landscape, its angular architecture more reminiscent of ancient temples than modern separatist design. Movement ahead, Cypher warns, his helmet sensors detecting signatures beyond normal visual range. Battle droids on patrol, bar 1 and B2 models. Standard security or expecting company, you ask. Formation suggests routine patrol, but numbers are higher than standard protocol would dictate for a research facility. They're protecting something valuable. With Master Varan's force-enhanced perceptions guiding you between patrol routes, your team reaches an external ventilation system that provides access to the facility's lower levels. The maintenance shaft narrows as you descend, the air growing increasingly hot and sulfurous despite your filtration systems. We're approaching the research section. Voss whispers as you emerge into a dimly lit corridor of black metal and stone. Security will be heaviest around the central data core. TAD-7K interfaces with a terminal, bypassing initial security layers to access the facility's schematics. Interesting. The facility layout incorporates design elements consistent with ancient Sith architecture, specifically focusing on energy channeling configurations. The central chamber appears designed to amplify force energies. Can you access research data from here, you ask? Negative. Primary data cores operate on isolated networks. Physical access required. Moving silently through the facility, you pass laboratories containing equipment unlike any standard Republic or Separatist technology. Hybridized designs combining modern components with artifacts of clearly ancient origin. In one chamber, a glowing red crystal sits within a containment field connected to devices monitoring energy outputs. A Sith holocron fragment. Master Varan identifies it quietly, similar to what we saw at Voss's base, but intact. They're studying dark side energies in conjunction with neural technology. In another laboratory, you discover something that stops Cypher in his tracks. A series of suspended animation chambers containing what appear to be clone troopers, but with subtle differences from the standard template. Their features show variations not present in the Jango Fett genetic line. These aren't standard clones, Cypher observes, studying them closely. The bone structure is different, and look at these markings. He points to small symbols tattooed at the base of each clone's skull, visible where their heads have been shaved. Toward 7K scans the symbols. Correlation found. These markings match ancient Sith script, documented in restricted Republic archives. Approximate translation: vessel or container. Container for what, you wonder aloud. Your exploration leads deeper into the facility until you reach a heavily secured door requiring multiple authentication protocols. Varus uses the Force to sense beyond it. Something powerful resonates from within. Dark side energies, but controlled, channeled for specific purpose. His expression grows troubled. And someone's in there. Someone strong with the Force. Before you can formulate a plan to bypass the security, T7K identifies an adjacent data terminal with access to the facility's research archives. This terminal contains lower security classification, but may provide contextual information about the facility's purpose. While Masters Vos and Varan prepare for potential confrontation beyond the secured door, you and Cypher work with T7K to extract what information you can from the accessible systems. The data you uncover sends a chill through you despite Mustafa's oppressive heat. Project Resurrection, Cypher reads from the display. A research initiative combining Sith essence transfer techniques with modern cloning technology. He looks up, expression grim behind his visor. They're attempting to create hosts for Sith spirits. T7K processes the information rapidly. Additional data indicates connection to clone inhibitor chip design. Neural architectures created here served as templates for those implemented in the Republic clone army, though with significant modifications for mass production. You dig deeper, accessing files detailing the relationship between the inhibitor chips and something called contingency protocols. The chips serve dual purposes. You realize as you analyze the data. The aggression suppression functionality is real, but secondary. Their primary design allows for pre-programmed commands to override clone autonomy when activated by specific phrases or signals. The contingency orders, Cypher says quietly. There aren't just a few specialized commands. There are 150 distinct protocols, each designed for different scenarios. The terminal displays a partial list of these orders, most with innocuous military designations, but one entry stands out, highlighted with the highest security classification, Order 66. Execute Order 66, you read. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, and after receiving specific orders verified as coming directly from the Supreme Commander, Gear commanders will remove those officers by lethal force, and command of the Gear will revert to the Supreme Commander until a new command structure is established. The implications hit like a physical blow. The entire clone army, millions of soldiers fighting alongside Jedi generals across the galaxy, each carrying hidden programming that could turn them against their Jedi leaders with a single command. The Supreme Commander, Master Varan, says, having moved to read over your shoulder, that's Chancellor Palpatine. This is beyond separatist sabotage, Vos adds grimly. This is a planned purge of the Jedi Order, built into the very army they command. Cypher stands motionless, processing the horrifying revelation about the purpose encoded in his own brain. Every clone in the Grand Army of the Republic, programmed to kill Jedi on command. Without choice, without hesitation, his hand moves unconsciously to his temple, where his own chip resides. Your discovery is interrupted as the facility's alarms suddenly activate, bathing the corridors in pulsing red light. Our presence has been detected, T7K announces. Security protocols initiating. Recommend immediate extraction. The secured door before you begins to open, revealing a chamber beyond. The room's center features a raised platform surrounded by ancient Sith glyphs carved into the stone floor. Suspended above the platform is a pulsing red crystal larger than any holocron you've seen, its energies visibly distorting the air around it. And standing before it, turning slowly to face your team, is a figure in black robes, a lightsaber hilt gleaming in his hand. Count Dooku. Master Voss identifies him, his own lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss of green energy. The former Jedi Master, now Sith Lord, regards your group with aristocratic disdain. How unfortunate. You've discovered our little project before the final phase could be implemented. His gaze settles on Cypher, and you've brought one of the vessels with you. How convenient. Master Varan's purple blade joins Vitz's green one as both Jedi move into defensive positions. The Jedi Council will learn of this plot, Dooku. The clone army will be examined, the chips removed. A thin smile crosses Dooku's refined features. My dear Master Varan, you still don't understand. This isn't simply a separatist plot against the Republic. Both sides in this war serve the same master, though few realize it. The Jedi have been blind to the truth for decades. What truth, you demand, weapon raised? That the Sith have already won, Dooku replies calmly. The Republic you serve is already under Sith control. The Jedi Order is already doomed. The Clone Wars themselves are merely the final act in a play written long ago. With a gesture from Dooku, battle droids begin to flood into the chamber from concealed entrances. As your team prepares for combat, the Count's words echo in your mind, connecting to the evidence you've uncovered across your investigation. The terrible suspicion forms that the Republic and separatist forces, seemingly locked in bitter opposition, might indeed be pieces moved by the same hidden hand. A conspiracy not just to control an army, but to orchestrate an entire galactic war. Fall back. Master Voss shouts as the first wave of battle droids opens fire. We need to secure this data. Your team retreats down the corridor, Jedi deflecting blaster bolts while you and Cypher provide covering fire. Till 7K downloads the critical files from the terminal before disengaging, the precious intelligence about Order 66 and the broader conspiracy now secured in his memory banks. Count Dooku does not immediately pursue, his commanding voice carrying over the chaos. Let them run. Activate Security Protocol Theta. No one leaves this facility. The retreat becomes more challenging as additional security measures activate throughout the complex. Blast doors slam shut across formerly open passages, forcing detours through increasingly hazardous areas. Superheated steam erupts from ruptured pipes, and portions of the floor retract to reveal bubbling lava beneath. They're herding us, Master Varan realizes, as you reach yet another blocked passage, driving us toward something. Or someone, Voss adds grimly. An explosion rocks the facility, the concussive force throwing your team against the walls. Through a newly created breach, you glimpse battle droids engaged with another force entirely, clone troopers in Republic armor. Republic forces, Cypher questions. Recognizing his brothers, how did they find this facility? This wasn't in any intelligence briefing, you confirm, equally confused by the Republic military presence. As you navigate through the battle-torn facility, evidence of a larger conflict becomes apparent. Republic gunships hover above distant landing zones, deploying more troops, while separatist reinforcements arrive from the opposite direction. The timing is too convenient, Master Varan observes. Republic forces arriving precisely as we discover the truth about Order 66. Someone knew we were here, you agree. But who sent these troops, and why now? With escape routes to the surface blocked by the escalating battle, Voss guides your team toward a secondary landing platform on the facility's lower levels. There should be transport vessels we can commandeer, he explains. But we'll need to move quickly before either side secures the area. The journey takes you through sections of the facility, untouched by the current conflict, but bearing evidence of long-term research operations. In one chamber, you discover holographic projections, displaying the neural architecture of clone brains, with the inhibitor chip locations highlighted. Adjacent displays show Jedi temple schematics and strategic analysis of Republic defense systems. They've been planning this for years, you realize, scanning the detailed contingency plans for eliminating Jedi across the galaxy. The Separatists have comprehensive intelligence on Republic and Jedi vulnerabilities. Not just the Separatists, Vors corrects, pointing to authorization codes visible on several files. These access markers include Republic military intelligence signatures. Someone with high-level clearance in both systems authorized this research. The implications continue to expand beyond your initial understanding. Not merely Separatist infiltration of Republic systems, nor Republic officials secretly controlling clone troops, but a conspiracy that somehow spans both opposing forces in the war. As you approach the landing platform, Cypher suddenly stops, gripping his helmet with both hands. A pained groan escapes him as he falls to one knee. Cypher, you move to his side immediately. What's happening? Something in my head, he manages through clenched teeth. A signal trying to activate something, fighting it. Master Varan kneels beside him, placing her hands on either side of his helmet. His chip is responding to a transmission within the facility. Someone's attempting to trigger it remotely. Can you block it? You ask urgently. Temporarily. Her eyes close in concentration as she uses the Force to create a barrier around Cypher's mind. But this is beyond anything I've encountered. The chip is deeply integrated with his neural pathways. Cypher's breathing steadies as Varan's Force intervention takes effect. It was like hearing a voice directly in my mind, commanding me to execute special contingency protocols. He looks up at the Jedi with disturbed realization. It was ordering me to kill you. T7K interrupts with an urgent alert. Republic gunship approaching landing platform. Transponder indicates Jedi Council authorization codes. Reinforcements? You suggest hopefully. Unlikely, Vors responds, his expression darkening. The Council doesn't know we're here. Those codes must be falsified. Upon reaching the observation window overlooking the landing platform, you witness a Republic gunship touching down. The troops deploying from it move with precise coordination, led by a robed figure whose lightsaber ignites with a crimson blade. A Sith, Master Varan whispers. But not Dooku. Darth Sidious. Voss identifies the shrouded figure. Dooku's master, the true power behind the Separatists. Why would Separatist leadership arrive on a Republic vessel with clone escort? You question. The contradictory scene before you defying logical explanation. Because the division between Republic and Separatist is an illusion, Vos answers, the pieces finally aligning in his mind. Two sides controlled by the same master, manipulated into war for purposes beyond territorial control or political ideology. Your team retreats from the window before being spotted, finding alternative route through maintenance passages that should lead to a secondary hangar. As you navigate the increasingly unstable facility, Cypher accesses the data T7K downloaded, reviewing the contingency orders programmed into every clone's inhibitor chip. It's all here, he reports, horror evident in his voice. Order 37, capture a specific senator. Order 65, remove the Supreme Chancellor from office should he become unfit to issue orders. And Order 66 inches, the Jedi Purge Protocol. You finish. But there's more, he continues. The neural programming extends beyond simple kill orders. The chips can reconfigure clone loyalty parameters entirely, transferring absolute authority to whoever holds the proper authentication codes. Creating an instant army loyal to the Sith, Master Varan concludes. Millions of troops who would execute any command without question. The facility trembles with another explosion. larger than before. T7. Key analyzes the structural vibrations. Assessment: Republic forces are bombarding the facility from orbit. Structural integrity compromised. Complete collapse estimated within 27 minutes. They're trying to bury the evidence, you realize, and us with it. The secondary hangar, when you reach it, contains several separatist shuttles. Most show battle damage from the ongoing assault, but one appears operational. As your team rushes toward it, a voice echoes through the chamber. Your persistence is admirable, if ultimately futile. Count Dooku stands at the hangar entrance, lightsaber activated but held casually at his side. Despite the chaos consuming the facility around him, he maintains his aristocratic composure. "You won't stop us, Dooku," Master Varan declares, her own lightsaber at ready stance. "I have no intention of stopping you, Master Varan," Dooku replies with surprising candor. "In fact, I believe the time has come for certain truths to be shared. The game has advanced to its final phase." "What game, you demand? Millions have died in this war. Worlds have been devastated. This is no game. From your perspective, perhaps not. But from the higher vantage point of my master, this war has served its purpose perfectly. The Republic crumbles from within. Democracy falters under the weight of prolonged conflict, and the Senate surrenders ever more power to the Chancellor." A thin smile crosses his refined features. A Chancellor who has orchestrated every move on both sides of this conflict. The implication strikes like a physical blow. Chancellor Palpatine is controlling both sides of the war. That's impossible. He's been targeted by separatist assassination attempts multiple times. Theatrical performances, carefully staged to reinforce his image as the Republic's dedicated protector. Dooku dismisses with a wave. Consider the outcomes of these attempts. Each has resulted in increased security, expanded executive powers, and greater public sympathy. Quite convenient, wouldn't you agree? Master Voss steps forward, his lightsaber still activated but lowered slightly. "You're claiming Palpatine is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord controlling the separatist movement." "The same Sith Lord who controls the Republic," Dooku confirms. "The master puppeteer who has orchestrated the most elaborate deception in galactic history. The Clone Wars exist for one purpose: to eliminate the Jedi and transform the Republic into a Sith Empire." The facility shudders again, more violently this time. Support beams crash down nearby, and the distant roar of explosions grows closer. "Why tell us this now?" Master Varan questions, suspicion evident in her tone. "Because it no longer matters what you know. The plan has reached its culmination. Order 66 awaits only my master's command to activate." Dooku's composed facade slips momentarily, revealing something unexpected. Resignation. "I too have served my purpose in this grand design. My master requires only one apprentice for the Empire to come, and it shall not be me." Before anyone can respond, a squad of clone troopers appears at the far end of the hangar, weapons raised. Their armor bears no unit markings, and their movements suggest programming rather than conscious decision. "Execute Special Contingency Order 17, comes a voice from behind the troops. The shadowy robed figure you observed earlier emerges, face concealed within a deep hood. "Eliminate the Jedi and capture the clone for examination. No survivors." The clones open fire immediately, their shots precisely targeted at Masters Voss and Varan. The Jedi deflect the initial barrage with practiced skill, but the volume of fire forces them into a defensive posture. "Go," Voss shouts to you. "Get this intelligence to the Jedi Council. It's the only chance to prevent Order 66. Count Dooku, surprisingly, makes no move to prevent your escape. Instead, he turns to face the hooded figure, his lightsaber raised. "You betray me prematurely, Master. Our arrangement was to conclude after the Jedi were eliminated. You have grown predictable, my apprentice. The shrouded Darth Sidious responds, his own crimson blade igniting. Your usefulness ends here. As the two Sith Lords engage in combat, you lead Cypher and T-7K toward the shuttle, while the Jedi provide covering fire against the attacking clones. The facility continues to disintegrate around you, massive sections of ceiling collapsing as Republic bombardment intensifies. Master Varan, Master Vos, we need to go now. You call out as the shuttle's engines engage. We'll hold them off, Vos responds, deflecting blaster fire back at the advancing clones. Get that evidence to Coruscant. Find Master Yoda. In the chaos of collapsing infrastructure and lightsaber combat, you lose sight of the Jedi as your team boards the shuttle. Cypher takes the pilot's position, his specialized training allowing him to operate the Separatist craft. The vessel lifts off amidst falling debris, narrowly avoiding a collapsing support beam as it maneuvers toward the hangar exit. Through the viewport, your last glimpse of the facility shows an image that defies everything you once believed about the war. Republic clone troopers and Separatist battle droids fighting alongside each other against Masters Vos and Varan, while the two Sith Lords continue their own deadly duel. As the shuttle breaks free of the facility and accelerates into Mustafa's ash-filled atmosphere, the full weight of what you've discovered settles upon you. The Clone Wars, the conflict that has consumed the galaxy for years, is an elaborate deception. Republic and Separatist forces, seemingly bitter enemies, are pieces on a Deckeric board, moved by the same player. Chancellor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, has engineered a war against himself, controlling both sides to achieve his true objective, the destruction of the Jedi Order and the transformation of the Republic into a Sith Empire. And the instrument of this final coup will be the clone army itself. Millions of loyal soldiers programmed to turn against their Jedi generals with a single command. Order 66 waits like a dormant virus within the mind of every clone trooper in the galaxy, including Cypher sitting beside you. A ticking chronometer, counting down to the end of the Jedi Order and the Republic as you know it. The question now is whether anyone will believe the truth before it's too late. The Separatist shuttle breaks through Mustafa's turbulent atmosphere, accelerating away from the doomed facility, now collapsing under Republic bombardment. Cypher pilots with expert precision, despite the unfamiliar controls, while you use the ship's communications array to scan for pursuing vessels. Multiple signatures detected, you report. 2 Republic LAT gunships and a Separatist droid fighter squadron. Both appear to be tracking us. Convergent pursuit patterns, T-7K observes. Republic and Separatist forces are coordinating their approach vectors. Probability of evasion using standard tactics, 23%. Cypher adjusts the shuttle's course, diving toward a massive lava flow that cuts across Mustafa's blackened landscape. If both sides are working together, we can't outrun them conventionally. We need to be unpredictable. The shuttle skims dangerously close to the molten surface, using terrain features for cover, while thermal updrafts create sensor distortions that confuse pursuit craft. With a series of maneuvers that would challenge even the most advanced autopilot systems, Cypher guides the vessel through a narrow volcanic fissure barely wide enough to accommodate its wings. Pursuing craft, unable to maintain visual contact, T-7K reports. However, orbital vessels will regain tracking capability once we leave atmosphere. We need a hyperspace-capable ship, you realize. This shuttle's range is limited to system travel. Cypher checks the navigational database. There's a mining facility on Mustafa's smaller moon, independent operation, not affiliated with either Republic or Separatist interests. They might have long-range transports we can acquire. Or they might alert our pursuers the moment we arrive. You counter, we need a more discreet option. The shuttle's communication system activates unexpectedly, a transmission cutting through the standard encryption with ease. A female voice, calm but urgent, speaks. Republic intelligence shuttle, Divert to coordinates being transmitted now. Repeat, divert to these coordinates immediately. Authentication code, Shadow Whisper 7-3. You exchange glances with Cipher. Shadow Whisper is a deep-covered Jedi operation protocol, you note, but we can't verify the sender's identity. The coordinates lead to Mustafa's northern pole, Cipher observes, studying the navigational data accompanying the transmission. Minimal volcanic activity in that region could be a trap or someone who knows we need extraction. You finish. Do we have alternatives? TOS 7K calculates rapidly. Negative. Fuel reserves insufficient for extended evasion. Pursuing forces will converge on our position in approximately 17 minutes. The decision made by necessity, Cipher adjusts course toward the transmitted coordinates. The landscape below transitions from active volcanic regions to cooler, solidified lava fields as you approach the northern pole. Massive mineral formations create jagged spires that reach hundreds of meters into the ash-filled sky, providing natural concealment from orbital observation. Landing zone identified, Cipher announces as the shuttle descends into a narrow canyon. Artificial structure, embedded in the rock wall, camouflaged to avoid detection. The structure reveals itself to be a concealed hangar entrance that opens as your shuttle approaches. With no other viable options, Cipher guides the vessel inside, where mechanical systems immediately close the massive doors behind you and initiate decontamination procedures to remove the corrosive volcanic ash from the hull. Inside the hangar waits a surprising sight. A modified Republic consular-class cruiser bearing no official markings, its elegant red diplomatic curves repainted in matte gray to avoid drawing attention. Standing at the base of its boarding ramp are three figures, a Togruta female in modified Jedi attire, an older human male in civilian clothing, but with a military bearing, and a Kaminoan whose slender form seems somehow furtive, lacking the typical poise of her species. Master T. Cipher recognizes the Jedi immediately, straightening to attention despite his exhaustion. Jedi Master Shakti approaches your group, her expression grave but welcoming. Commander Cipher, we feared you had been lost when the facility was targeted. You know about the facility, you question. About what we discovered there. We know enough. The human male interjects, stepping forward. His weathered face bears the marks of decades of military service, though he wears no rank insignia. Captain Fordo, Republic Special Operations, retired, at least officially. The Kaminoan approaches last, her movements hesitant. I am Nala Se, Chief Medical Scientist of Kamino's Classified Development Division. I am a defector, you might say. You're the one who sent the warning transmission. You realize, recognizing her voice, despite only having heard it briefly in the fragmented message that began your investigation. About the inhibitor chips. We should continue this conversation aboard my vessel, Master Tai suggests, glancing at the hangar entrance. Your pursuers will expand their search parameters soon. We must be gone before they think to look here. Once aboard the consular cruiser and safely in hyperspace, your team gathers in the ship's secure conference room. There, each of the three unexpected allies shares their piece of the larger puzzle you've been assembling. I was assigned to Kamino to oversee clone development, Master T begins, a position that allowed the Jedi Council to maintain some supervision over the Army's creation. However, my access to certain aspects of the program was limited from the beginning. By order of Chancellor Palpatine, Nala Se continues, her large eyes blinking nervously. Initial specifications for the inhibitor chips came directly from his office, though this information was hidden from most Kaminoan scientists. We were told they were necessary for controlling the aggressive tendencies inherited from Jango Fett's template. But you discovered otherwise, you prompt. I accessed restricted files after noticing irregularities in clone neural patterns following chip implementation, she confirms. The chips contained layered programming far beyond aggression inhibition, including dormant protocols that could override clone free will entirely. When I reported my concerns to Prime Minister Lama Su, I was removed from the project and placed under surveillance. She managed to transmit a warning before her communications were cut, Captain Fordo explains. A warning that reached an old friend of mine in Republic Intelligence, who forwarded it through secure channels until it reached Master Yoda. And Yoda contacted you. You conclude, the chain of events finally becoming clear. Master T nods. A small group of Jedi have harbored concerns about the clone army's origin since its discovery. While the Council officially accepted the explanation of Master Sifo Dyas commissioning the army, some of us continued investigating privately. I joined this investigation after leaving active service. Fordo continues. Something didn't sit right about how perfectly the clone army appeared just when the Republic needed it. Too convenient, too well-timed. What about Masters Voss and Varan, you ask? The fate of the two Jedi who stayed behind weighing heavily on your mind. Master Ty's expression softens with regret. We lost contact with them when the facility was destroyed. Their sacrifice may have been necessary to secure your escape with the evidence. Cypher, who has remained silent throughout the exchange, finally speaks. The chips in my brother's heads, in my head, can they be removed? Nala C hesitates before answering. Removal is challenging. The neural integration is extensive, designed specifically to resist tampering. Attempting removal without proper equipment and expertise risks permanent brain damage or death. But it can be done, Master T adds firmly. We have successfully removed chips from a small number of clones, including Captain Fordo, though the process requires specialized techniques and carries significant risk. How many clones know the truth? Cypher asks. Very few, Fordo answers grimly. Those of us who've had our chips removed operate in deep cover, helping to identify and extract others who might be receptive to the truth. But our numbers are tiny compared to the millions still serving with active chips. TUS-7K, who has been analyzing the data recovered from Mustafar, interrupts with new findings, cross-referencing complete. The inhibitor chip schematics contain embedded coding signatures, matching files in my databanks attributed to Darth Plagueis. The name sends a visible shock through Master T. Plagueis, are you certain? Affirmative, 97.8% confidence in identification. My original programming contained reference archives of known Sith artifacts and technological signatures. Who is Darth Plagueis, you ask? Unfamiliar with the name. A Sith Lord who, according to limited Jedi records, was obsessed with manipulating life itself, Master T explains. He reportedly discovered techniques for influencing midi-chlorians, the microscopic life forms that connect living beings to the Force. If the chip technology bears his signature, then the conspiracy extends beyond political control to something involving the Force itself, you conclude, the implications becoming increasingly disturbing. Nala C accesses the ship's holographic projector, displaying the complete inhibitor chip schematics. The design incorporates components that respond to specific Force signatures. When exposed to certain Force presences, the chip's suppression functions can be temporarily disrupted. Explaining why clones who serve closely with Jedi for extended periods sometimes experience malfunctions, Fordo notes. Their chips are being unintentionally affected by their Jedi generals. But this creates a vulnerability in the system, Master T observes. If proximity to Jedi can disrupt the chip's function, then Darth Sidious would need to eliminate the Jedi before the effect becomes widespread enough to compromise his control. Order 66, Cypher says quietly. The longer the war continues with Jedi leading clone forces, the greater the risk that more chips will malfunction. He needs to execute his plan before that happens. T-7K projects a timeline based on the available data. Analysis indicates Order 66 execution parameters are tied to specific military objectives. Current Republic campaign trajectories suggest these conditions will be met within approximately 6 to 8 standard weeks. The revelation lands heavily. Whatever Palpatine's final plans, they are approaching their culmination. The galaxy stands on the precipice of transformation, with the Jedi Order and Republic democracy itself hanging in the balance. We have the evidence now, you state, indicating the data secured from Mustafar. We need to present this to the Jedi Council and the Senate immediately. Master T's expression turns troubled. It's not that simple. Chancellor Palpatine's influence extends throughout both institutions. Direct opposition would likely trigger Order 66 before we could prevent it. And without knowing which clone units might have been specially programmed for advanced protocols, we can't predict how the Order would spread. Then what can we do, you ask? The magnitude of the conspiracy seeming increasingly insurmountable. We gather our resources, she answers, with quiet determination. We remove chips from key clone units who can help us when the moment comes. We identify potential allies within the Senate and Jedi Order who might believe the evidence. And we prepare contingencies for the worst-case scenario. Which is, Cypher asks, that we fail to stop Order 66, Master T states bluntly, and must instead preserve what we can of the Jedi and the Republic for a future restoration. As your ship travels through hyperspace toward a secure location known only to Master T, you contemplate how dramatically your understanding of the Clone Wars has transformed. What began as an investigation into possible separatist sabotage has revealed the most elaborate deception in galactic history, a phantom war orchestrated by a Sith Lord who controls both sides, designed specifically to eliminate his enemies and consolidate absolute power. The wisdom gathered from your unlikely allies paints a picture more disturbing than anything you initially imagined. Not merely political manipulation, but a grand design stretching back decades, perhaps centuries, culminating in the potential eradication of the Jedi Order and the subversion of the Republic from within. The question remains whether this knowledge hard-won through sacrifice and revelation can be transformed into action before Darth Sidious implements the final phase of his plan. The consular cruiser emerges from hyperspace in a remote sector of the Outer Rim, far from established hyperspace lanes and Republic patrols. Through the viewport, you observe a small planetoid surrounded by an asteroid field dense enough to discourage casual visitors, but navigable with skilled piloting. "Welcome to Haven," Master Tai says, as Captain Fordo guides the ship through the natural barrier, one of several contingency outposts established by forward-thinking Jedi in the years before the Clone Wars began. The planetoid's surface appears barren at first glance, but as you approach, a camouflaged hangar entrance becomes visible, built into the side of a mountain range. The facility inside reveals itself to be far more extensive than its hidden entrance suggests. A fully equipped base with medical facilities, communication arrays, and living quarters sufficient for several hundred individuals. Some Jedi sensed the growing darkness decades ago. Master Tai explains as she leads your group through the complex. While they couldn't identify its specific nature, they recognized the need for sanctuaries outside Republic space where knowledge and artifacts could be preserved if the worst should occur. In the central command center, you're surprised to find several familiar faces, Jedi and clone troopers you'd encountered on previous missions, all now united in this secret resistance. Among them stands a diminutive green figure whose presence immediately commands attention, despite his small stature. Master Yoda, you acknowledge with profound relief the ancient Jedi Master's survival confirms that at least some of the Order's leadership remains intact and aware of the conspiracy. Found the truth, you have, Yoda states, his large eyes reflecting both wisdom and sorrow. At great cost, this knowledge comes. Masters Vos and Veran. Master T informs him quietly. They stayed behind on Mustafar to ensure the evidence could escape. Yoda's ears lower slightly in mourning before he addresses your team directly. Share what you have discovered. You must, ready we are, to hear the full extent of this deception. For the next hour, you present the comprehensive evidence gathered throughout your investigation. The inhibitor chip schematics, the contingency orders focusing on Order 66, the Mustafar facility's connection to both Republic and Separatist leadership, and the damning revelation of Chancellor Palpatine's true identity as Darth Sidious. Yoda listens intently, his ancient features growing increasingly troubled as the full picture emerges. When you finish, a heavy silence falls over the command center, the implications too momentous for immediate response. Blind we have been, Yoda finally says, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. Orchestrated this war was from its very beginning, played we have been, like pieces on a Decheric board. The Sith Lord we've been searching for has been hiding in plain sight, another Jedi Master adds, guiding the Republic toward its own destruction while we defended it on battlefields of his choosing. Cypher, who has remained stoically professional throughout the briefing, finally voices the question that haunts him personally. What happens to the clones in Palpatine's grand design? What becomes of my brothers once Order 66 is executed? Nala C., who has been analyzing the complete inhibitor chip programming, provides the disturbing answer. Once activated, the chips permanently rewrite certain neural pathways. The behavioral modifications would be irreversible by conventional means. Your brothers would become loyal soldiers of what the Chancellor envisions as his new empire, with no memory of their former allegiance to the Jedi. Millions of men reduced to organic droids, Cypher says quietly, his hands tightening into fists at his sides. Created for a war that was never meant to be won, only to serve as the executioners of their own generals. Tor 7K projects a comprehensive strategic analysis based on all available data. The timing indicates Chancellor Palpatine has been coordinating key military deployments to position Jedi across the galaxy, maximizing the efficiency of Order 66 when executed. Current troop distributions would result in approximately 94% of active Jedi being in direct proximity to clone forces when the order is given. He's been deliberately spreading the Jedi thin, you realize. Each victory that seems to bring the Republic closer to winning the war actually places more Jedi in vulnerable positions, surrounded by troops programmed to kill them. Master Tear activates the central holographic display, showing the current state of the galaxy-spanning conflict. The recent offensive against Separatist strongholds has deployed nearly every combat-capable Jedi to frontline positions. If Order 66 were triggered now, the Order would be decimated in a single stroke. Another Jedi completes her thought. The strategic brilliance of Palpatine's plan becomes increasingly apparent. By creating a threat that required the Jedi to assume military leadership, he positioned them perfectly for elimination, while simultaneously militarizing the Republic and centralizing power in his own hands. The Jedi, traditionally peacekeepers and diplomats, were transformed into generals fighting a war designed specifically to lead to their destruction. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Yoda states grimly, moved against the Jedi. The Sith already have. What about direct action against Palpatine, you suggest? With this evidence, couldn't a team of Jedi Masters confront him directly? Considered this we have, Yoda acknowledges, but great risk there is. If Order 66 he activates during such confrontation, lost all would be patient the Sith have been. For a millennium waiting, careful we must be in our response. There's another complication, Master T adds. Our intelligence suggests Palpatine has been grooming a new apprentice to replace Count Dooku, someone powerful in the Force who could serve as the military leader of his new empire. A chill runs through you at this revelation. Who? Before she can answer, the facility's security systems activate, warning lights bathing the command center in pulsing red. A communications officer reports urgently, Master Yoda, priority transmission breaking through all encryption layers, origin, Coruscant, Jedi Temple. The holographic projector shifts to display the image of a Jedi Knight, his expression grave, lightsaber activated at his side as sounds of combat echo behind him. Emergency code 913, he announces, using the Jedi distress signal reserved for the most dire circumstances. The temple is under attack by clone forces. Repeat, clone forces are assaulting the Jedi Temple. They're being led by the image destabilizes briefly before continuing. Being led by Anakin Skywalker. He's leading the 501st Legion against fellow Jedi. Order 66 has been activated. All Jedi are instructed to go into hiding. Imid. The transmission cuts off abruptly, leaving stunned silence in its wake. It's begun, Master T whispers, sooner than we anticipated. Skywalker, another Jedi, says in disbelief. The Chosen One, how could he turn against the Order? Palpatine's new apprentice, you realize with horror. He's been positioned close to the Chancellor for years. Yoda closes his eyes, his ancient face contorted with the pain of countless lives suddenly extinguished across the galaxy. Through the Force, many deaths I feel. Begun the purge has. Multiple communication stations activate simultaneously as desperate messages pour in from across the galaxy. Jedi reporting betrayal by their clone forces, pleading for guidance or simply transmitting final warnings before falling silent. The sequence of events you had uncovered but hoped to prevent is unfolding with terrifying efficiency. Cypher watches the incoming reports with growing anguish, witnessing the role his brothers are playing in this atrocity. They have no choice, he says. Though the words provide little comfort, the programming overrides everything. Their experiences, their friendships, their own judgment. Tani 7 Kane analyzes the pattern of incoming reports. Order 66 appears to be propagating through specialized command channels. Execution efficiency currently at 78% and rising. Republic Holonet transmissions now reporting Jedi rebellion against the Chancellor, justifying military response. He's already controlling the narrative. You observe bitterly, painting the Jedi as traitors to generate public support for their extermination. The command center transforms into a crisis management hub as the survivors coordinate responses to the unfolding catastrophe. Emergency extraction teams are dispatched to attempt rescue of any Jedi who might have survived the initial purge. Communication protocols are established to guide survivors to safe locations. Archives begin downloading critical Jedi knowledge and history that might otherwise be lost forever. Amidst this organized chaos, Master Yoda summons your team to a private conference room. Despite the crisis surrounding him, the ancient Jedi Master maintains his composure, though deep sadness radiates from him through the Force. Confirmed what you discovered. These events have, he tells you solemnly. For 1,000 years, the Sith planned this moment. Patient they were, working from shadows. Failed to see it, the Jedi did. Until too late it was. What happens now, you ask? The question encompassing the fate of the Jedi, the Republic, and the galaxy itself. Into hiding, the surviving Jedi must go, Yoda answers. Wait, we must, for a more opportune time, preserve what we can of the Order. Our priority now becomes. And the Republic, you press. The Republic, already fallen it has, Yoda states with finality, transformed into something else it will be, an empire ruled by the Sith, as Dooku warned. Nala C, who has been monitoring communications from her former homeworld, interjects with additional concerning news. Kamino has received orders to accelerate clone production and implement final stage loyalty protocols. The new regime is ensuring complete control over the army. My brothers are being transformed into the enforcement arm of a Sith dictatorship. Cypher realizes the full horror of their collective fate becoming clear. But there's still hope, Master T insists. The evidence you recovered provides us with something precious, understanding. We know the true nature of what we face. We know how the chips function. This knowledge can help us save some clones, preserve some Jedi, and keep the flame of resistance alive. Yoda nods in agreement. A whisper lost in time. The Jedi once feared we would become, he says, echoing words spoken at the beginning of your journey. And though that whisper grows faint today, extinguished completely, it will not be. The ancient Jedi Master turns to you directly. Crucial, your role now becomes neither Jedi nor clone you are, yet understood the truth before most. Carry this knowledge you must, to those who might still be saved. A whisper lost in time. The phrase resonates with new meaning as you contemplate the end of an era that has spanned thousands of years. The Republic, the Jedi Order, democracy itself, all swept away by a plan so patient and meticulous that it remained invisible until the moment of its triumph. And now you understand the shadow was cast by the light itself, manipulated by hands unseen, and now all falls into darkness just as Darth Sidious intended. The Clone Wars were never meant to be won by either side. They were designed from the beginning as the perfect trap, a conflict that would militarize the Republic, position the Jedi for elimination, and create the conditions necessary for the birth of an empire. In this moment of clarity, the full scope of Palpatine's deception stands revealed in all its terrible brilliance. Not merely a political mastermind or military strategist, but a Sith Lord whose patience and foresight engineered the precise circumstances for the fulfillment of a 1,000-year vendetta against the Jedi and the Republic they served. The ultimate revelation is both simple and devastating. The Clone Wars themselves were the weapon, and every battle fought, every clone created, every emergency power granted to the Chancellor was another step toward this inevitable conclusion. As reports continue to arrive, detailing the fall of Jedi across the galaxy, the weight of this understanding settles upon everyone present. The war you thought you were fighting was never the true conflict at all. In the days following the execution of Order 66, the full scale of the disaster becomes apparent. Reports filtered through secure channels confirm what Yoda sensed through the Force: the systematic elimination of Jedi across the galaxy. Temple archives accessed remotely reveal the devastating assault led by Anakin Skywalker, now referred to in Imperial communications as Darth Vader, Palpatine's new apprentice and military enforcer. The transformation of the Republic occurs with shocking speed and efficiency. Chancellor Palpatine, addressing an emergency session of the Senate, declares himself Emperor, citing Jedi treachery and the need for stronger leadership to ensure security. Security recordings of this historic session, obtained through the Haven Facility's slicing team, show thunderous applause greeting this announcement, democracy dying to the sound of its own approval. Operation Resurrection makes sense now. You observe grimly as your team analyzes the incoming intelligence in Haven's secure briefing room. It wasn't just about controlling clones or eliminating Jedi, it was about resurrecting the Sith Empire itself. A goal pursued across generations. Master Te agrees. What appeared to be separate conflicts and crises throughout recent history were likely connected moves in this grand strategy. The Stark Hyperspace War, the Naboo Crisis, the Separatist movement, all manipulated to create the conditions necessary for Palpatine's rise to power. TIE-7K, continuously processing the flood of information from across the galaxy, provides regular updates on the emerging Empire's consolidation. Analysis of Imperial communications indicates rapid military redeployment. Clone forces previously engaged against Separatist targets, now securing key Republic worlds. Separatist leadership reportedly eliminated on Mustafar by Darth Vader, effectively ending the war under terms favorable to the new Empire. The war ends exactly when Palpatine no longer needs it, you note. With the Jedi purged and emergency powers secured, the Separatist threat becomes unnecessary to his narrative. For Cypher, each update brings fresh anguish. The role his brothers play in enforcing the new regime weighs heavily upon him, though he channels this pain into practical action, working with Nala Se to develop methods for identifying and potentially removing chips from clone troopers who might be receptive to the truth. We've refined the detection protocol, Nala Se reports after days of continuous work. Using modified medical scanners, we can now identify clones whose chips show signs of degradation or malfunction without invasive procedures. This will help us target our limited resources toward those with the highest chance of successful chip removal. And we've established a secure communication network using outdated frequencies and equipment the Empire considers obsolete, Captain Fordo adds. It's slow and limited, but it allows us to contact potential allies without triggering Imperial monitoring systems. Master Yoda, who has spent long hours in meditation seeking clarity through the Force, finally emerges with a definitive course of action. He summons the Haven Leadership Council, including your team, to outline the path forward. Survive we must, to fight another day. The ancient Jedi begins, his voice carrying quiet authority despite the circumstances. But more than physical survival, ensure we must that the knowledge and spirit of the Jedi endures. The plan he outlines is both pragmatic and far-reaching. The surviving Jedi will scatter to remote worlds, going deep into hiding, while maintaining minimal contact through the most secure channels. Critical archives and artifacts already secured at Haven and similar facilities will be further distributed to prevent any single discovery from eliminating all that remains of Jedi knowledge. What about active resistance? One of the younger Jedi questions. Surely we can't simply hide while the Empire tightens its grip on the galaxy. Patience we must have, Yoda counsels. Strong the Emperor is both in the Force and in political power. Direct confrontation now would fail, leading only to more loss. Plant seeds of future rebellion we will, but grow in their own time. They must. For your team specifically, Yoda outlines a mission of particular importance, one that addresses the third and final mystery you had uncovered on Mustafar. Operation Resurrection. More complex it is than first we believed, Yoda explains. Not only the rebirth of the Sith Empire it signifies, but something more disturbing. Experimentation with life itself, Darth Sidious pursues. The power to create life, to cheat death, to transfer consciousness. These dark secrets he seeks. The experimental clones you discovered on Mustafar, with their unusual markings and genetic modifications, suddenly take on new significance. Not merely soldiers, but potential vessels for something far more sinister. The Sith essence transfer techniques. You realize, combined with cloning technology, he's creating fail-safes for his own mortality. Correct, you are, Yoda confirms. Immortality through technological and mystical means Sidious seeks. Prevent this we must, for endless would his reign become, if successful he is. Your mission becomes clear: to track, and where possible, destroy the remaining research facilities connected to Operation Resurrection. While the Empire rises publicly, you will work from the shadows to undermine Palpatine's ultimate contingency plan. As preparations for these various missions proceed, you find Cypher alone in the facility's observation dome, gazing at the stars visible through the transparent ceiling. His posture, typically regulation perfect, now shows the weight of recent events. How do you move forward when everything you were created for turns out to be a lie? He asks, without turning as you approach. My entire existence, the existence of my brothers, all engineered for this moment of betrayal. The same could be asked of the Jedi, you respond, joining him at the viewport, created and trained to serve the Republic, to maintain peace and justice, now labeled traitors to everything they stood for. At least the Jedi chose their path, Cypher counters. We clones never had that luxury. Even our loyalty was programmed, ready to be overridden the moment it conflicted with our true purpose. And yet here you are, you observe. Despite the programming, despite the chips, some of you found a way to resist. That suggests something the Kaminoans didn't account for, something beyond genetic programming or neural implants. Individuality, Cypher says after a thoughtful pause, the one thing they couldn't fully engineer out of us, no matter how standardized the template. Each of us, through our experiences, developed something unique that couldn't be entirely predicted or controlled. Which means there may be others like you suggest. Clones whose experiences with particular Jedi, whose individual development created resistance to the chip's programming. A slim hope, Cypher acknowledges, but one worth pursuing. His gaze returns to the stars beyond the dome. My brothers deserve the chance to choose, to know they were more than organic weapons in a Sith Lord's grand design. This conversation becomes the foundation for an additional aspect of your mission, identifying and extracting clone troopers who might be helped, not just for humanitarian reasons, but because their intimate knowledge of Imperial military protocols and facilities will prove invaluable to future resistance efforts. Before departing Haven, your team makes final preparations with the facility's resources. The 7K undergoes comprehensive reprogramming to remove any separatist recognition markers that might trigger Imperial security systems. Nala Se compiles complete medical datasets on the inhibitor chips, creating portable surgical kits for field removal procedures when opportunities arise. Master T provides specially encrypted communication devices that can transmit secure messages through unconventional channels. In your final briefing with Master Yoda, the ancient Jedi presents you with a small crystal data storage device. The complete truth this contains, he explains, evidence of Palpatine's identity, the purpose of the clone army, the orchestration of the Clone Wars, all that you and others have discovered at such cost. Guard it well, for when the time is right, crucial this knowledge will be in turning the tide against the Sith. When will that time come, you ask? Yoda's eyes, reflecting wisdom accumulated across 900 years, meet yours directly. Know this I cannot, perhaps not in my lifetime, or even yours. Patient the Sith were for a millennium waiting to enact their revenge. Equal patience may be required to undo what they have done. As your team prepares to depart in a nondescript freighter acquired for your mission, Master T offers a final perspective that brings the journey full circle. Knowledge is both gift and curse, she says, echoing a truth you've experienced firsthand throughout this investigation. The burden of understanding what truly happened is heavy, but it provides clarity when others remain confused. While the galaxy celebrates the end of the Clone Wars, you know the conflict served its true purpose perfectly. While citizens accept the narrative of Jedi betrayal, you carry the truth of their sacrifice. A truth that may never be widely known, you note with a hint of resignation. Truth has patience, she responds with quiet confidence. It may be suppressed, hidden, distorted, but it persists. Documents can be destroyed, witnesses silenced, history rewritten, but truth itself endures, waiting for the moment when it can emerge again. As your ship departs Haven, following a course deliberately complex to evade potential pursuit, you reflect on the journey that began with a fragmented transmission and led to the uncovering of the greatest deception in galactic history, the Clone Wars, presented to the public as a conflict between Republic liberty and separatist tyranny, revealed to be an elaborate facade concealing the true battle, the final move in the ancient struggle between Jedi and Sith. The third mystery of your investigation, Operation Resurrection, now becomes your focus. While Palpatine consolidates his empire through military might and political maneuvering, his secret research continues in hidden facilities across the galaxy. The quest for immortality, for power, transcending natural limitations, represents a threat potentially more enduring than the Empire itself. This knowledge transforms your understanding of the conflict that has consumed the galaxy for years. The visible war of armies and navies, of territories gained and lost, was merely misdirection. The genuine war, fought through manipulation, deception, and carefully orchestrated crisis, has already concluded with Palpatine's victory. But while the Sith Lord has won this epochal confrontation, claiming the prize sought by his order for a millennium, you now possess something he cannot easily destroy: complete understanding of how the deception was accomplished. This knowledge, preserved and protected, carries the potential to undermine the foundations of his empire when the appropriate moment arrives. The resolution of your investigation brings not justice or immediate victory, but something perhaps more valuable in the long term: truth preserved against all efforts to eradicate it. Like a seed planted in barren ground, waiting for conditions to change before it can grow, this truth will remain dormant but alive, ready to emerge when the galaxy is prepared to face it. As your ship enters hyperspace, leaving the Haven facility and its gathered survivors behind, you commit yourself to this new mission: not just opposition to the Empire, but preservation of the knowledge that might someday lead to its downfall. The Clone Wars have ended, but the true conflict continues in a different form, fought not with armies, but with the power of truth against deception. 5 years have passed since the execution of Order 66 and the rise of the Empire. Your team has operated continuously from the shadows, moving between remote worlds and abandoned facilities, pursuing the remaining threads of Operation Resurrection while avoiding Imperial detection. The galaxy has transformed around you, the New Order's influence spreading across systems once governed by Republic principles. Tonight, your small vessel drifts silently in the upper atmosphere of Dantooine, its systems powered down to minimal levels to avoid detection. Through the viewport, the planet's rolling plains stretch to the horizon, bathed in the silver light of 3 moons. It's a peaceful scene, far removed from the Imperial military parades and enforced order that characterize life on core worlds. Cypher joins you at the viewport, his appearance subtly altered through reconstructive treatments to avoid recognition. The scar that once marked his face has been removed, and subtle changes to his bone structure distance him from the identical faces of his brothers who now serve as stormtroopers throughout the Empire. 5 years, he reflects quietly. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime since the Republic fell, other times like yesterday. We've accomplished more than seemed possible, you remind him, thinking of the successes amidst the ongoing struggle. 23 clone troopers freed from their chips, 3 resurrection research facilities located and destroyed, data networks established that will someday form the backbone of organized resistance. Small victories against an empire that spans the galaxy, Cypher observes, though without bitterness, but necessary ones. T-7K, his original tactical droid framework, now concealed beneath modified protocol droid plating, joins the conversation. Probability models suggest increasing instability in Imperial control mechanisms as expansion continues. Excessive centralization of authority creates systemic vulnerabilities that will become more pronounced over time. The Empire's strength is also its weakness. You translate. Palpatine's need to control everything personally creates blind spots we can exploit. In the ship's small common area, a holographic projection displays the current status of your ongoing missions, points of light representing hidden allies, caches of preserved knowledge, and potential targets for future operations. It's a constellation of resistance, invisible to Imperial eyes, but growing steadily across 5 years of patient work. Nala C enters from the medical bay, where she has spent countless hours refining the chip removal procedure to increase its safety and efficacy. Her contributions have saved dozens of clone lives while providing critical intelligence on Imperial operations. The latest patient is recovering well, she reports. CT-4387's neural pathways are regenerating normally. His memories of the purge are returning, though the process remains traumatic. Each recovered clone represents both a life saved and a wealth of information about the Empire's inner workings. Former commanders and specialists with intimate knowledge of Imperial protocols and facilities, they form the core of your intelligence network. He provided confirmation about the Felucia installation. Nala Say continues. His unit was assigned security detail there before being transferred to Mimban. The facility matches the parameters of a resurrection operation, isolated, heavily secured, with advanced medical equipment being delivered monthly. Our next target, you decide, making note of the location. Once he's recovered enough to provide detailed security protocols, the conversation pauses as the ship's communication system activates, a soft tone indicating an incoming transmission through the secure channel established years ago. The message, when decoded, contains only a brief update from one of your scattered allies, but its content brings a moment of quiet satisfaction. Master Tai has successfully relocated 3 Force-sensitive children beyond Imperial jurisdiction. You inform the others. Another generation preserved from the Emperor's notice. While not the focus of your primary mission, the protection of Force-sensitive individuals discovered across the galaxy has become an important secondary objective. Each child hidden from Imperial detection represents a potential future where the Jedi might someday return. As night deepens over Dantooine, your team settles into a rare moment of peace. Tomorrow will bring continued challenges. Another facility to infiltrate, more evidence to gather, additional clones to liberate if possible. But tonight offers quiet reflection under stars that remain unchanged despite the political transformation below. I've been thinking about what we discovered on Mustafar, Cypher says, after a contemplative silence, about the true nature of the Clone Wars. How a conflict that seemed so clearly defined, Republic versus Separatists, democracy versus tyranny, good versus evil, was actually something entirely different. A grand deception, you agree. A war designed specifically to be witnessed, to capture attention while the real objectives were accomplished unseen. It makes me wonder what other conflicts might be similarly manufactured, he continues. Not just in politics, but in the narratives we construct about ourselves, the stories we're told about who we are and what our purpose should be. His philosophical turn reflects the personal journey he's undergone since breaking free from his programmed purpose. Like the other liberated clones, Cypher has confronted the profound question of identity, who he is beyond the role he was created to fulfill. The Empire teaches simple narratives. You observe clear divisions between loyalty and treason, order and chaos. But reality exists in the complexity between such absolutes. In that middle ground, we find both truth and freedom. As the conversation winds down, your team prepares for the limited rest your mission allows. Before retiring, you access the ship's secure vault one final time, confirming the presence of the crystal data device entrusted to you by Master Yoda years ago. The complete truth of the Clone Wars, preserved despite all Imperial efforts to rewrite history, remains safe. Outside, Dantooine continues its peaceful rotation, unaware of either the fallen Republic or the risen Empire. Ancient forests breathe under starlight, as they have for millennia. Rivers flow through valleys carved ages before the first interstellar travelers arrived. The cycles of nature persist, indifferent to the political transformations that seem so momentous to those caught within them. In this moment of quiet contemplation, you find unexpected peace. The knowledge you carry, the truth behind the Clone Wars, the understanding of how democracy transformed into tyranny through careful manipulation, remains a burden, but it also represents hope, a seed of truth preserved against all efforts to extinguish it. Someday, perhaps long after your lifetime, this knowledge will emerge again. The careful deception that allowed Palpatine to orchestrate his rise to power will be exposed. The Jedi, now labeled traitors and criminals in Imperial histories, will be remembered for what they truly were. The clone troopers, created as unwitting instruments in their own betrayal, will be understood as victims rather than willing executioners. Truth, like the Force itself, exists in balance. For now, darkness prevails across the galaxy. But within that darkness, small lights of resistance and knowledge persist, and in time, as with all cycles of history, the light will return. The stars continue their eternal rotation, watching silently over worlds torn by conflict and deception. And within their ancient light, the promise remains that no darkness, however complete it may seem, can endure forever.